I didn't steal anything. This is my money. 13-year-old Jaden Bennett trembled at the customer service desk, his voice choking with anger as he tried to explain. But the bank manager, Karen Mitchell, looked at the black boy with nothing but contempt. A kid like you and you've got this much cash? I don't buy it. You must have stolen it from somebody, Karen said, her tone dripping with prejudice. Tears welled in Jaden's eyes as humiliation washed over him. It was supposed to be simple. He just wanted to open his very first bank account. Please, let me call my dad, Jaden begged. Karen sneered. Go ahead and tell the cops your sob story. I'm not buying it. Without hesitation, she picked up the phone and dialed. I need the police at once. There's a thief trying to deposit stolen money into our bank. What Karen Mitchell didn't realize was that she'd just made the biggest mistake of her career, because in less than an hour, she would learn exactly who Jaden's father was, and when that happened, her entire world would collapse. What followed not only exposed Karen's shocking racism, but also revealed a powerful secret that would change everything. That bright, sunlit Tuesday afternoon, 13-year-old Jaden Miller stepped off the bus in front of the First National Bank, excitement shining on his face. He took a deep breath to steady his nerves. This wasn't just any trip, it was the first milestone of his journey into adulthood, a moment he'd looked forward to for weeks. In his small backpack, alongside a neatly organized binder, was an envelope containing $800, a heartfelt birthday gift from his grandmother. In the days leading up to this, Jaden had thoroughly researched how to open a bank account online, practiced speaking confidently, and gathered every required document. To him, this wasn't merely depositing money. It was proof to his dad that he was responsible enough to manage his own finances. When the automatic glass doors slid open, Jaden walked into the spacious, elegant lobby with pride swelling in his chest. The bank was fairly busy, but he held his head high and made his way to the teller window with a bright smile. But as soon as he reached the counter, his joy evaporated. The teller, Lisa Edwards, who had just been smiling at the previous customer, instantly hardened when she saw Jaden. Her smile vanished, replaced by a cold, suspicious glare. Lisa's eyes roamed over him, head to toe, with blatant distrust. Before Jaden could speak, she snapped with clear disdain. "What do you want?" Despite feeling deflated and confused by her attitude, Jaden kept his composure. He forced a polite smile and said, "Hi, ma'am. I'd like to open my first bank account today. I have all my paperwork and the cash right here." He placed the envelope and his documents on the counter. But Lisa didn't glance at his papers. Her gaze remained fixed on the cash. She narrowed her eyes, curled her lip in a cruel smirk, and asked flatly, "A kid like you with this much cash, where'd you get it?" Jaden hesitated, taken aback, but tried to explain honestly, "It's a birthday gift from my grandmother, and part of it is my own savings. I really prepared for this day." Lisa laughed mockingly and cut him off. "A birthday gift? How cute! You think we're that gullible? I know exactly where kids like you get their money." Every word from Lisa felt like a knife to Jaden's pride. He looked pale and bewildered, unable to understand why she treated him this way. I don't understand. I really haven't done anything wrong," Jaden stammered, his voice trembling and eyes glistening with hurt. "Nothing wrong?" Lisa raised her voice, drawing the attention of others nearby. "With that much cash, there's no way it's clean. Just wait for my manager. She'll know how to handle you." Jaden stood frozen, his hands clutching his backpack straps so tightly they shook, trying to hold back the shame and shock flooding his chest. What should have been the happiest day of his young life had turned into a nightmare he never saw coming. The cold words from Lisa rang out sharply in the bank's hushed interior, drawing every curious gaze toward Jaden. A wave of shame and fear rose in his chest, an invisible weight pressing down on his small shoulders. Jaden took a deep, shaky breath, his hand trembling as he unzipped his backpack and pulled out the papers he'd prepared. "Please, look at these documents," Jaden said, his voice quivering but earnest. "I have my birth certificate, my student ID, and a letter from my dad. I really just want to open an account." He looked at Lisa with pleading eyes, hoping she'd understand and stop this bizarre behavior. But instead of accepting his honest explanation, Lisa Edwards grew even more aggressive. Her eyes glittered with contempt, as if she were certain Jaden couldn't possibly be telling the truth. "Letters and papers can be faked just as easily," she snapped. "I know kids like you all too well. Tell me the truth. Where did you steal this money from? Or were you peddling some street drugs? If you come clean now, I might go easy on you." Jaden froze, his face turning icy at the harsh, baseless accusations. It was the first time in his life he'd ever faced such vicious, cruel words. A tsunami of emotions, anger, confusion, humiliation, crashed over him. Tears welled in the corners of his eyes, but Jaden forced himself to stay calm. "I've never done anything like that. My dad taught me to always be honest and work hard. I just don't understand why you won't believe me," he stammered. Lisa sneered and cut him off. "Honest? Hardworking? Those words sound ridiculous coming from you. Look at you, so young, Black, showing up with stacks of cash, insisting you're here to open an account. Do you think I was born yesterday?" Every one of Lisa's poisonous remarks was a blade stabbing into Jaden's pride. His confidence shattered. With trembling hands, he set his papers on the counter, voice choked with despair. "Please, just call my dad. He'll explain everything." Lisa stared at him with an icy glare, then shook her head curtly. "I don't want to hear another lie from you. It's time for my manager to handle this." Before Jaden could react, Lisa grabbed the phone and punched in an extension, her tone tense but triumphant. "Karen, please come down here right away. I've got a special case for you. Looks like some kid is trying to open an account with suspicious cash." She clicked the receiver down and gave Jaden a victorious glance. Jaden was now in full panic, standing motionless as tears streamed down his cheeks, unable to believe his big day had turned into such a disaster. At the end of the hallway, the office door swung open, and the sharp click of high heels echoed as a powerful woman strode toward the teller line. From the crowd emerged Karen Mitchell, First National Bank's senior manager, known for her ironclad control and hard-nosed attitude, but also for the deep prejudice no one dared to challenge. Karen locked eyes on Jaden with a stern expression. Without waiting for an explanation, she asked Lisa in a decisive, skeptical tone, "What's the problem here, Lisa?" Lisa stepped forward, her gaze flicking triumphantly to Jaden before answering. "This boy has $800 in cash and insists it's a birthday gift. I suspect it's from illegal sources. When I pressed him, he got evasive and showed signs of losing his cool. I thought you should handle it yourself." Karen narrowed her eyes as she studied Jaden, then leaned in and said just loudly enough for him to hear, "This kid is definitely a problem. I'll get to the bottom of this myself." Jaden stood there, utterly alone and helpless, unaware that his nightmare was only just beginning. From the moment Karen Mitchell appeared, the tension at the teller line turned icy. Her decisive footsteps echoed across the glossy white tile, the authoritative click of her high heels parting the crowd as customers instinctively stepped aside. For Karen, handling situations like this had become second nature after more than 20 years climbing the ranks in banking, but today her demeanor was sharper and more severe than usual. Karen's steely gaze swept over Jaden, then snapped to Lisa, her voice carrying both authority and impatience. "I hear this boy is carrying a suspicious amount of cash?" Lisa nodded quickly, her tone obsequious. "Yes, ma'am. He insists it's a birthday gift in his savings, but I can see his hesitation. I suspect it's illicit money, so I asked you to handle it directly." Without letting Lisa finish, Karen turned her full attention back to Jayden, her look dripping with contempt. Deep-seated prejudices, long buried, surged to the surface, sharpening the bias she'd hidden behind a professional smile. In Karen's mind, any unaccompanied child of color showing up with a large sum could only mean one thing: wrongdoing. She was convinced Jayden was a troublemaker attempting some amateur fraud. "Boy, exactly where did you get this money?" Karen demanded, her tone devoid of compassion. "You'd better be honest. I don't have time to waste." Jayden, still trembling under the glare, wiped tears from his cheeks. He took a shaky breath, voice cracking but determined. "Ma'am, I swear this money is legal. It's a birthday gift from my grandmother plus my own savings from helping my dad at home. I have all the documents to prove it." He extended his meticulously prepared papers once more, hoping Karen would see reason, but she didn't even glance at them. Instead, she shook her head and laughed coldly, as if hearing the punchline of a bad joke. "I don't have time for a child's fairy tale. Birthday gift? Savings? I've seen plenty of kids like you. Don't bother with the act, it won't work." Karen turned back to Lisa, irritation in her eyes. "Next time, don't bother me over trivial nonsense. Call the police right away. People like this aren't worth our time." Her words struck Jayden's pride like a dagger. Overcome with shame, he could barely stand. Desperate, he pleaded, "Please believe me. I'm not lying. If you don't trust me, let me call my dad. He'll explain everything." Karen's eyes narrowed in icy resolve. "No, I'm not giving you another chance to pull a stunt. I've heard enough lies. The police will uncover whatever you're hiding." Jayden's hand shook as he reached for his phone, but before he could dial, Karen snatched it away in one brusque motion. "I said no. You can't call anyone. This is a bank, not your playground." Her ruthless act made the air even more oppressive. Customers whispered anxiously, none daring to intervene. Some shook their heads at Karen's cruelty, but all remained silent. Karen ignored them. In her mind, only pride and unwavering faith in her own judgment counted, a blind trust in prejudices she'd nurtured for years. To her, calling the police on a boy like Jayden was simply routine. Jayden stood frozen, utterly helpless. His world had shattered in under half an hour. Every hope he'd placed in this milestone, every dream of proving himself, evaporated. Tears blurred his terrified face as Karen's heels clicked again, this time striding to the fixed phone at the counter. She lifted the receiver and spoke in her authoritative, cold tone. "Hello, this is First National Bank. We need the police here immediately. We have a black boy here with suspicious cash, possibly linked to illegal activity. Please respond as soon as possible." She ended the call, set the handset down, and shot Jayden a triumphant glance, as if she'd just won a great victory. What she didn't know was that this call would become the turning point that upended her entire life. The click of Karen's call had hardly ended before a suffocating hush fell over the entire bank lobby. Jayden stood frozen, hot tears slipping silently down his cheeks, his young heart crushed by a fear he'd never known. All his thoughts of excitement, maturity, pride, and responsibility, feelings he'd anticipated for days, shattered into confusion and utter despair. Minutes later, the bank doors burst open, and bright afternoon sunlight flooded in. Two officers entered with steely expressions, their sharp eyes sweeping the room until they locked onto Jayden. Travis Walsh, a tall man with salt and pepper crew cut and chiseled features, and Amanda Cruz, a young, no-nonsense cop with her dark hair pulled into a tight bun, strode confidently forward. Their presence sent every customer backing away, forming a wide circle around Jayden, as if he were a dangerous criminal under siege. Karen hurried up to the officers, a look of satisfaction flickering across her face. In a firm, pointed tone, she recounted the situation, deliberately highlighting words that implied Jayden's guilt. "Officers, this boy arrived with a suspicious amount of cash and can't explain where it came from. I suspect it's proceeds from illegal activity. When questioned, he evaded and lost his composure." Travis and Amanda's eyes narrowed on Jayden without a hint of doubt. They didn't even glance at the legit documents Jayden still clutched in his hand. Travis stepped forward, his deep voice cutting through the silence. "Boy, turn around and place your hands behind your back immediately." Jayden startled, eyes wide with terror, scarcely believing what he'd heard. In utter desperation, he trembled as he pleaded through tears. "Sirs, I swear this money is mine. I haven't done anything wrong. My dad can prove it. Please let me call him, just one call, I beg you." But Travis remained unmoved, his face cold and resolute, treating Jayden like a hardened criminal instead of a scared child in need of help. Amanda stood silently beside him, emotionless. She calmly retrieved a pair of gleaming handcuffs. The click of metal echoed sharply in the oppressive quiet. Jayden's tears flowed freely now, his voice cracking with panic and anguish. "No, please don't do this. I'm innocent. I didn't do anything wrong. Please believe me, officers." His feeble explanations fell on deaf ears. Travis lunged forward, roughly spinning Jayden around, forcing his small, shaking hands behind his back, and snapping on the ice-cold cuffs. The harsh clang of metal rang out, amplifying the boy's humiliation and wrenching away any chance of resistance. Bank customers and staff had gathered in a tight crowd by now, pity, curiosity, and unease in their eyes. Yet no one dared step forward. They stood silently, witnessing the grave injustice, each privately believing something was horribly wrong, yet powerless to act. Karen watched beside Lisa with barely concealed triumph, as though she'd just claimed a hard-won victory. To her, this wasn't just part of her job, it was proof of her instincts and authority. Beneath her professional facade, her deep-rooted prejudice masqueraded as protecting the bank from potential threats. Travis and Amanda led Jayden toward the exit, his steps unsteady, head bowed in despair and shame, his small frame shackled. Tears streamed down his cheeks onto the cold white tile, each drop echoing the turmoil within him. Only the sound of footsteps and the clinking handcuffs broke the dreadful silence. Outside the bank, curious onlookers lined the sidewalk, dozens of faces watching in stunned silence as Jayden passed by, nobody speaking up, nobody intervening, as if they too assumed he must be guilty. The late-day sun had faded into a leaden sky, mirroring the young boy's hopelessness. When Travis and Amanda guided Jayden into the waiting squad car, his world seemed to collapse. Only one anguished question echoed in his mind. Why is this happening to me? What did I do to deserve this cruel, humiliating treatment? The police car drove off, leaving behind a silent crowd dispersing in guilt-tinged resignation. Karen turned back into the bank, her cold smile fading, unaware that her hasty, heartless decision would set in motion the downfall of everything she'd built in her life. The police car had just disappeared around the corner, leaving First National Bank under an oppressive, heavy silence. Jayden sat trembling in the back seat, his hands still cuffed behind him, his throat tight with fear. But in that moment of deepest despair, he remembered one last chance, his cell phone buried in the inside pocket of his jacket. Driven by desperation, Jaden carefully twisted in his seat to avoid drawing the officer's attention. In the narrow jacket pocket, his phone lay on silent mode, each second stretching unbearably slow. Jaden's fingers, shaking violently, fumbled through the pocket and finally brushed the